Welcome to Lawyers Who Learn, where we explore how attorneys' engagement and lifelong learning fuels their growth. Join us to uncover these journeys and gain insights for your legal career.
Kellam, welcome to Lawyers Who Learn. I'm excited to dive deep into your story, not only about cybersecurity, but going all the way back to 1999 and some of your beginning stages of practicing law. So thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, David. Look forward to it.
I would be amiss to say that you're also a Lawline faculty member. And just to give a shout out to the two courses that you have currently on our site. Number one is managing digital evidence in Virginia family law cases. And number two, which I think sounds a little bit more geared to your passion, is Game of Codes. Winter is coming for tech-resistant lawyers, embracing generative AI to transform your law firm's future. I just came from 3 conferences in 2 weeks, and that was the number one topic. So we're definitely going to dive into that. And I'm really going to dive deep into you and what your tech stack is, because to see how you are embracing the future, just sharing experiences there. Cool?
Sure. Love to. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I'm actually updating so I did a cybersecurity one for you guys a while ago. It got outdated. So I'm actually updating that in January. So that'll be added to the list too.
Fantastic. Thank you. We appreciate that. All right. So now I'm looking at your background. You started in family law and then you moved to cybersecurity. Is that correct? Or am I off on that?
Well, a little. I started in an insurance defense firm in 1999. I had geared my education. I thought I was going to be a prosecutor. I really enjoyed trying cases. I thought criminal law was the bee's knees. Worked for the U.S. attorney while I was in law school and some other things, which was great. Then I realized sort of last minute that, wait a minute, I have loans to pay and this doesn't. Hey, so I jumped to civil world. I did insurance defense when I first got out. Really did not care for that. And I moved to a mid-sized firm eventually and did a number of different kinds of law, ended up doing a lot of family law. And then when I started my own firm in 2012, probably 4 or 5 years into that, I got into cybersecurity as a practice area. I've always talked about it, taught it, and then I taught a course with a fellow cybersecurity person who said, wait a minute, you're not practicing it. That's dumb. You should do that. And I have. So for the last 8 years, I've been mainly doing cybersecurity data privacy for my part of the litigation stuff. Not even litigation really practice. It's more business oriented.
And I love that sort of your passion of what you were talking about and what you loved. You weren't actually practicing, and your colleague said you should help other people in that area because that's what you do best. And then you pursued that.
Yeah, it was great. So it was funny because I'd known her for about 5 minutes and she said, that's dumb. And I like that honesty. Let's talk about this some more. But it was good. Yeah, I really enjoy, I still enjoy, I do some high asset divorces. I like taking litigation cases only when it's the right case for me. I've outgrown for me at least, I don't get the thrill of battle anymore. I really like more collaborative and I like the win-win solution, not the win-lose solution.
And just the level set, when you talk about cybersecurity, what are the main areas or like the 80-20 rule of the things that you're seeing happening right now that you work with your clients?
Sure. So I would say people think of data breaches as somebody's been hacked, and certainly that happens. And so I'm doing some incident responses right now currently where there has been an actual hack. But usually it's somebody's clicked something they shouldn't. Your employees are not as trained as they should be, or people get a human error. It just happens. It doesn't matter how prepared you are really. And they'll click something that didn't come from a person. It may be just a bot or a malware. It infects the computer. And what happens is then somebody gets access to the data or they forward some emails. I do see, and that's most of it.
Isn't that considered phishing? Is that what you call it?
Yeah. So that would be phishing. You get the email, and if it's
which is, if you look to a lot of the political campaigns, that's where many insider information came up. I don't know if it was the Hillary campaign. A lot of these campaigns all came from phishing emails. So it's so crazy. So basic.
It is. And it's funny is that, so later today, I'm actually doing a presentation to another group I'm in on cybersecurity for law firms. And I'm specifically talking about hey guys, look, we have an ethical obligation as lawyers to protect our client data. So not only is it important for your law firm, but you could have a license problem if you haven't taken reasonable steps. And part of it's security. So a lot of in law firms, unfortunately, a lot of lawyers, I won't say most, a lot of lawyers are not very technologically savvy. We tend to be stuck in our ways. We tend to just do what's always been done. And so they may not have the best IT in place. Even if they have good IT, they don't have people that know cybersecurity. So they don't have all the managed security operations center and the endpoint detect response and all these buzzwords of things you should have that really help protect you from yourself. Because, for instance, our environment, if one of my employees happens to click a link they shouldn't click, it's most likely not going to go anywhere because we have things in place that goes to a sandbox, and we have automated things in the background that check for all this, and it sends up red
Got it.
flags. And just a lot of law firms don't
Well,
have that. So I see that a lot.
They get as sophisticated with us where we'll send text messages to my employees from me asking for, and everybody knows at this point, I'm not texting you.
For gift cards? Yeah, can you buy me some gift cards on the way to work this morning? That's the big one, right?
Well, something or can you help me with just anything to get them to say yes and
Sure.
engage with them? And we're filming this on Zoom and it just made me give a thumbs up. So that's all good. So that's number one. What's number two?
So that's by far the number
That's
one.
the
right?
80%.
That's the 80%. The 80%.
Okay.
And then the other would be really when I say targeted, don't think that that somebody is actually behind a computer going to my email, but it's AI assisted these days or automated, where they're looking for vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And so they may find, VPNs, people have the virtual private networks and they're
Yeah.
logging in remotely. That's not actually that secure. Sort of best practices now is don't.
Okay. Can we just, that's great not great to hear, but because we use a VPN for what we do. And whenever we have our employees go to hotels or they're at a Starbucks or they're,
Yeah. So let me distinguish that. Absolutely. 100% you should not access wireless Wi-Fi anywhere that's not secure. So try to just use your phone as a hotspot if you have good cell connection. So I was in Vegas a couple years ago in the summer with my wife. We stayed at the Wynn. The Wynn wanted $27 per device per day for their Wi-Fi, or for their internet, which was very slow anyway, which was nuts. I've never heard of a per device fee. So that's crazy. But I was like, wait a minute, I've got my phone. It's Vegas. I had 150 megabyte a second on my phone.
Yeah.
And that's secure. If you don't have security, and for lawyers, our big thing is if we're in court, it's a big cinder block usually, and we don't have cell reception.
Yeah.
Oh, you have free Wi-Fi at the courts. A VPN is good for that because it gives you that private tunnel. From your
Okay.
device.
All right.
But if you're using,
go ahead.
it's not good to access. If you have a remote worker that's trying to access your local server, for instance, if you have a local server, that's not the best way to do it.
Got it. Okay.
So
And this
just
is
to distinguish. Absolutely.
definitely, that is the level of knowledge I want to get into in this podcast for sure, because tune into the CLE course if you want to really break into that, or future ones. If we
there's just there's other protections, but I see that a lot. So one of my clients had a data breach where it was a VPN issue. Somebody had used sort of a default login and password. People were it was a larger organization. The bad guys found it. And it was actually the bad guys. It was Inc., which is a criminal organization, INC. And they got in overnight. They encrypted a bunch of data. And then it was, hey, pay this or we're going to do ransomware. It was it was just the whole thing. And that happens. It's less common these days. Usually nowadays, what I see is people infiltrate a system and just sit and wait. And then, so I had a client, another quick example. I had a client a couple of years ago that somebody got into their system, waited for 6 months, and they found the right opportunity because they were just monitoring the system, and they found an opportunity where a customer owed my client a bunch of money, and my client was purchasing equipment. So the bad guys pretended to be the people selling the equipment and said, hey, pay us here. Also pretended to be my client to the customer and say, pay us here. And $300,000 later, they figured it out because they tried to do one more thing, and that's when the bank tripped it up, and it took too long and they couldn't get the money back. And that's what I see a lot of now. I see less of the ransomware for smaller organizations, and I see more of the taking advantage to try to scam out their clients or steal data over time. It's
only getting more sophisticated.
Absolutely.
On every level, which is the dark side of what's happening with AI. And you're hearing things like 16 pin passwords are, that's why you see a lot of I see a lot of sites are moving away from passwords to other forms of security. And I assume that's partly what I'm reading is like AI is going to be able to break these things much quicker if it's just a basic passcode versus other 2-step or 3-step security procedures.
Yeah.
So,
Look at it just as a simple tip. You should 100% enable multi-factor authentication on every single thing you can have. That's just a baseline, non-negotiable. It just has to, and that's not foolproof, by the way, but
for sure.
it is a 90. It's great. It's just a fantastic.
Antivirus should be on all computers. Are all antiviruses made? I'm sure, obviously, assuming they're like not shady, right? If they're basic antiviruses, do you think all are equal in terms of?
Windows is actually, the Windows baseline stuff isn't bad for the baseline antivirus, malware protection, that kind of stuff. That's all the basics, right? You have that. You make sure you've got a good firewall. If you have a company, you should have an enterprise level firewall, like a Cisco product that Meraki that's what we have at our office. And what that does is it lets your cybersecurity professionals, IT professionals monitor it real time.
Sure.
And then what's really cool about it, and all of these enterprise systems have this, where if there's a new virus or malware that's detected in Singapore, and in this case, Cisco figures it out, they push out the patch to every single Meraki device. So,
totally.
And that's just, is it more expensive? Of course it is. And you have to pay a license per year, but it's one of these things, I'm like, you would not put a lock on your front door.
No. It's 100% true. And we all get caught up in that. Oh, wow, that's $25,000 a year, whatever, to protect, or a lot more than that. Let's pause here for a second and go back to what I said before, 1999, or when you graduated law school.
Yeah.
You almost didn't practice law, correct?
Yeah. So I had always, as a young kid, I thought, I want to be a lawyer, right? And then I went to college, thought I was going to do business, found out, no, I don't really like macroeconomics. Not that's business. You don't know, you're a kid. Found philosophy, loved philosophy, but I didn't want to teach. And like, what am I going to do with this? And so I said, all right, let's go back to this law thing. Went to law school, went to William & Mary in Williamsburg, great law school, really had a good education. Then when I graduated, again, I went from thinking I was going to do criminal, and then I did civil. I just did not enjoy the insurance defense world, and my firm, some good people there, but for a lot of reasons, I just really didn't enjoy it. I woke up every day thinking, I've made a mistake. And unfortunately, my mother had been diagnosed with lung cancer about the last year of my law school. And so I used that as an opportunity to step away, spend more time with her. I had waited tables in college and between college and law school, and I had waited tables at a high-end restaurant in law school for the first year. And so I had some contacts. I ended up working at sort of the hot spot in Virginia Beach. They were building the restaurant.
Can we just pause for a second? How old was your mom when she was doing this?
Late 40s. So she passed, and she only lived for about another year and a half. So she died.
I didn't realize, I didn't picture, because you always just picture people older.
She was young. Yeah, smoker, right? Don't smoke, kids. Smoked her whole life, but it gave me an opportunity. So I waited tables for about a year and a half. The joke is I made almost as much money the first year waiting tables at 35 hours a week than I did my first year.
And you were waiting tables because you wanted to spend more time with you had to stop what you were doing and lost.
Yes.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure I wanted to practice law. Honestly, I just disliked that environment at the time so much. I questioned about, is this really what I want to do?
That's a big deal, though. If it's okay to pause for a second.
Of course.
Like, that is a seminal moment. Of course, taking care of your mother in her 40s, I assume younger than you are now. I'm in my late 40s. And then, like you said, waiting tables, making more money than you were before. And that was how long was that period? A year and a half?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
And then, and I'm sorry to hear that your mother died so young and she had passed away. What was your thought process? Like, okay, now I want to get back into law, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I'd spent all this time, money, so many student loans, right? So I spent all this time and money going to law school. I have a very analytic mind. I thought I'd be good at it. I still had the bug at the time to litigate. And so I said, look, I think I want to, now that I have the time, right, let me try this again. And I was afraid at the time. I was really concerned that me stepping away we're a small legal community here in Tidewater, Virginia. I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia area. And I thought, you have this, people get in this, as a young person especially, you get in these sort of rhythms where you're like, this is just the way it is. And so I said, I'm never going to find a job. And I found a job like right away. I applied. They asked me why I took time off. I told them. They said, okay, that makes sense. Where did you work beforehand? I told them. They said, okay, I understand that insurance defense, maybe that wasn't your thing. This is what we do. We do more plaintiff work. We do this stuff. And so I took the job. And then one of the things that I try to be a positive person. So I always, obviously losing my mother is a big deal and there's nothing positive about that, but I try to take something away from it, try to learn from it or take something. And the one thing that I really took from that is that life's not about boxes, because when I wanted to go back to practicing law, I could. And then I got married, and my daughter, who's almost 28, is my stepdaughter. I got married, met my wife when she was 3, and we got married when she was 5. And I needed more money. And so I said, oh, then my bosses, who were great, weren't going to pay what I needed. So I took another job, and it was fine. They understood. They said, oh, we're not going to pay you that. So good luck. Took another job, same thing. I took another job. And then when I started my law firm. So the one thing that I learned is life is, you have an infinite number of choices. Some of them might not be great based on your circumstances, but I don't ever feel trapped. So I'm not afraid to take the chances. I'm not afraid to do things, which is, I never knew I was an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom was an entrepreneur. I never knew what that was really. And I got the bug when I started my law firm.
Yeah.
That's one positive thing, I guess, that came out of that.
Infinite choices, right? Like, there's another way of saying it. There's a phrase, good thing, bad thing, who knows? And the concept is, most people, when they when they have an event, if they experience it, if they think of it as bad, they experience it as bad. And the good thing, bad thing, who knows, is nothing is bad unless you experience it that way. It's just not the outcome that you wanted. And so have you heard that phrase before? Because it's ancient. There's a parable about that where, I won't go through the whole parable, but everything that sometimes something happens, you think it's bad until you realize that was that job that you got at that law firm led to your cybersecurity opportunity that led to this, and you never know where it's going to go to. And that is sometimes one of the challenges. You're afraid to make a decision to do something because it will be the wrong decision. And I'm sure even today, even though you've learned that lesson and you realize you're an entrepreneur, I'm sure you still, because there's bigger decisions you need to make today that are harder. Are there things that the infinite choice, don't put life in boxes, that you're struggling with a little bit to break through that wall today, of things that you need to do in your career or the firm, or like trying to figure out what's next with AI? I don't know, like, what is out of your comfort zone right now when you think about that infinite choice?
It's a big question. David, it's interesting. I'm very good, not perfect, but I'm very good about not having those issues. So as a philosophy guy, I was really drawn to the Stoics, right? So one of my favorite books is The Obstacle's the Way by Ryan Holiday. And so this is Marcus Aurelius and others, but the whole principle is sort of similar, which is your experience is really what's happening to you is what's happening to you. That's objective, but how you react to it is in your control to some degree. Honest, we're human beings, so we're not in perfect control of our emotions. Obviously, there are mental things if you're a high anxious person, which luckily I'm not. Sometimes you can't control, but assuming all equal, if something happens to you, how you react to it is something that you can choose to do. And so I take that principle as in one step further, which is, and I'm not sure who said this, but and it actually might be part of the Stoics too, but it's regret is looking to the past and saying, oh, I wish I could have done things differently. Anxiety is looking to the future and worrying about what's going to happen. I plan for the future. I try to learn from the past, but I try to live in the present. And I take that across all areas. So if I have a really big decision, I really try to game it out. And I go, okay, what are the pros and the cons? What is it going to take? What's the worst thing that can happen? What's the best thing that can happen? How much effort it's going to take? How much resources is it going to take? How is it going to affect other people? And then I make the decision. And we've made mistakes. And fortunately, we've had a lot of successes. And so I really don't worry over it. One quick example. So my daughter runs a dance studio. So she danced her whole life. We took her out of regular school. She was homeschooled from 7th grade on. went to a dance program at a local college. And we opened, my wife is a retired teacher. So I said, look, I know how to do business. Why don't we open a business? Unfortunately, we opened it February of 2020. So this little thing, COVID, happened. So thank God it was not my primary source of income. But we need a new place. So we need to grow. Commercial real estate's very limited in what we need in our areas. And we've been dealing with it now for 9 months, and we have to find a place by March. If we don't find a place by March, we're not going to be ready by July when my lease is up, and we don't have a dance studio. So that's that could be very high anxiety. But we're planning for it. We're doing the best we can. And I've said to my wife and daughter, I said, look, worst case scenario, we close it down and we try again later or something else.
Yeah. By the way, the Stoics, especially Ryan Holiday, Marcus Aurelius, I can't tell you how many times that has come up on interviews in this podcast because, the only two things you control are how you think and how you feel is what you said in different forms. I've learned that in many different ways. I've also really loved books like Think and Grow Rich, which, is another form of talking about The Secret. And those are the things where the law of attraction, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like you have to act as if you can visualize what the future looks like to make it happen today. So I love to hear it in practice and how you use it. Tell us today, how big is your firm? How many attorneys are there? Yeah, let's start with that.
Sure. So we've got 14 lawyers. We do 12 practice areas. We have 14 lawyers across 3 offices, 2 in Virginia, 1 in North Carolina. We have about 37 people, with 4 of those being offshored. They're in South America. And we have a full-time COO, full-time marketing and intake director, and 2 owners, myself and my partner, Brandon Ziegler. And we run our office off of a modified EOS model. So Gino Wickman's book Traction, which is pretty popular. But yeah, so that's our environment. And my partner and I spend a lot of time running the firm. We still practice. My partner more than I do these days. He still likes the litigation part of it. But yeah, so that's the makeup we have. It's a mid-sized firm.
I love to hear when a law firm uses EOS or scaling up. So we use scaling up, which is very similar to EOS, which is regular meetings, quarterly priorities, basic structure to figure out what your 3-year initiatives are. Because before that, we were just, what is Dave thinking about to do this month versus getting us all to communicate on a level that makes sense. And so many law firms don't do that. Did you ever work with a coach?
Yeah, we did. Absolutely. So we tried to self-implement, which is disastrous because we're too busy. Look, we don't teach you how to run a law firm in law school. They're starting to a little bit, but 25, 26 years ago, not at all. And my partner and I are not stupid, and we're hardworking, and we understand business principles. I like to laugh and say we're successful despite ourselves because
we all are.
We didn't really have a plan. It was like, hey, we're going to do this stuff. Let's try to figure it out. And only about 4 years ago did we hired a coach. So you may know Stephanie Everett at The Lawyerist.
Yes.
So Stephanie is our one-on-one coach. She does some one-on-one coaching to certain size law firms, and she was instrumental in getting us straight. And it's been great. I can't even describe what a different world it is when you have a plan, which is ridiculous, of course. And lawyers hearing this, of course, but they don't do it because it's busy practicing law.
It's having a plan and all being on the same page what it is, because you can have a plan in your head, but if you can't communicate it in an effective way. I didn't realize, so I'm actually interviewing her, I think in 2 weeks. I didn't realize, so they implement EOS or something similar to EOS.
Similar. So she had run, so she was the owner of The Lawyerist, and then The Lawyerist got bought out by Affinity Consulting, which we use Affinity Consulting. So that was great. So I'm like, this is perfect. We use everybody. And we're a little big to use The Lawyerist. So Lawyerist is really more for smaller solos. And we were looking for business coaches. Her name came up. We talked to her, and she really quickly rose to the top there.
Got it.
She still does it for a certain number. Yeah. So she does but she was running The Lawyerist under EOS, and they modified it somewhat for themselves. She's not a franchise.
Sure.
So it's just the principle.
Look, there's very little new things out there. So it's just how you frame it. We're going to talk about your wanting to coach in a second. Before we dive into that, let's talk about this revolution that's happening in the legal space and in the world, how AI is changing things. And can you first share a little bit about your tech stack? Do you use Cleo, for example? What do you use as your law practice management? What are you using for legal research? What are other for time tracking, if you do that, take us through a little bit here so people can see what the best of the best uses.
Sure. I'm
Or
not
somebody, at least somebody who
fast.
knows it. I'll say somebody who knows what they're doing. How about that?
Yes. No, I definitely know what I'm doing. Yeah, I actually, I'm probably, I don't know, top 10% of lawyers that use AI from my experience. I teach it, I do CLEs on AI, obviously, like I did for Lawline. But so I got into AI in March of 23. ChatGPT came out November 22. I got into it late, 5 months later, started using it personally, saw the power of it. Even then, before it's just every 6 months or so, it's doubling computing power. So it's just nuts. And so we slowly started to use it at the firm. So we started low hanging fruit. We're a Lexis user. We were one of the first ones in this area to adopt their AI when it first came out. So we used Lexis AI. I also use another product that was formerly called Calidus. They just rebranded, called I think it's now Strong Suit. I think it's Strong Suit. Literally rebranded like last week.
I just met him at the Legal Tech Fund Summit.
Oh, Justin. Yeah. Was it Justin McCallan you talked to?
I'm going to look right now because I was like, because he was wearing a nice suit at the time. I'm like, strong suit has a double meaning now.
Oh, all right.
Sean.
Okay. That means one of his partners.
Sean. Yeah. Okay.
So Justin was an M&A attorney. He's the one he reached out to me on LinkedIn early just because I talk about AI and we got to know each other and I demoed his product and I really like it. And that was even before they just had a nice capital infusion. They've grown. So we use both. So we use Calidus for certain things. We use Lexis for others. We use general AI for marketing, HR.
What is it called?
We use ChatGPT.
Okay, got
it. General LLM. So yeah, some people like Claude.
So you're still using Lexis?
Yes, we're still using Lexis.
Let's just out of curiosity, because from what I understand, at least going to these different conferences and things like that, West bought Chase Tax for $650 million. Cleo just bought VLEX for $1 billion. Sure. Their new product. I just interviewed, if you look at my LinkedIn yesterday, I interviewed somebody who moving their whole firm tomorrow to it's $199 a month per attorney because of how amazing the integration is and the search and the function is. And then I just met a company yesterday called August. It's only 20 people, but it looks like it's going to be the next big thing that's better than Harvey, which is for big law, but they don't have the data set. I'm not really hearing so much about Lexis and their AI. So tell me what people should know, or are you like experimenting in other places too? What are they doing?
Yeah. So here's my overall principle is I don't like signing long-term contracts with anybody other than practice management solutions. The only reason I sign long-term contracts with practice management is because of our size. If you're a solo and have 3 people, I don't even know if I would sign a long-term contract with them. But at our size, shifting our entire firm from one practice management system to another is a huge lift. So even if something's better, we're not going to do it quickly.
Lexis is practice management?
No, sorry.
Okay.
I was leading up. No, absolutely. Sorry,
okay.
Didn't mean to confuse. But so that goes to Lexis. So Lexis and Westlaw typically have long-term, they want to get you into long-term contracts. That's been their business model. I will tell you, quite frankly, one of the reasons we use Lexis AI is because we're in a Lexis contract. So we pay more for the AI, but why not? I'm already there for everything else.
Yeah.
But Lexis charges per attorney. We have 14 attorneys. Only probably 5 of us need to use AI. So we've got criminal lawyers that don't really do it much. We've got trusted estates lawyers. So that's where I like other things like Calidus, which is per month per user, or those types of things.
Got it. I appreciate that.
No, it is. And look, I've been a Lexis user for 20 years, right? So I like Lexis as a product, but I think they're going to have a hard time competing. And so is Westlaw, quite frankly. Even though Westlaw bought an AI product and Lexis built their own, it's some of these other newcomers are better positioned, I think, to take advantage of the constant changing.
Yeah.
And that's where honestly smaller and solo firms have an advantage because they're able to test these things quickly and implement them more quickly than even we are at our size. So we're Lexis for now. Our contract renews next year. We'll evaluate that. But we're looking at other products. And somebody asked me in one of my groups the other day, because I'm part of a lot of different coaching groups and tech groups, obviously. And so one of the questions to me was like, hey, you're an AI tech guy. Do you think that Cleo is it? Do you think Cleo, because obviously at CleoCon, they announced all these new initiatives with AI and a couple of my coaching clients are using it and they love it.
Yeah.
And I said, look, if there's any existing practice management solution that can do it, it's going to be Cleo because of the pure size and money as well as their philosophy. But I said, honestly, I think it's going to be a newcomer that's going to build their practice management with AI from the ground up
Yeah.
and not bolt it on. Probably. So
So
we'll see.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm curious, could you share who you use for practice
Yeah,
management?
it's really funny. So we use a product called Carrot, which used to be called Zola Suites. It's actually lower tech in the sense that they don't have AI. They don't even have open API yet, believe it or not. But we went with them. So my journey was I did Cleo initially in 2012. So I was paperless and cloud based in 2012 when I was a solo, which was radical, right? Cleo was one of the few cloud based practice management solutions back then, along with Rocket Matter and a couple others. I was with Cleo. Cleo's great, but Cleo didn't have integrated accounting at the time. They didn't have complicated reporting, and we're a multi-practice area. I needed all sorts of report. They just couldn't do what I needed to do. And although they work with every single other thing, I would have to pay per person for all these other products. I'd have 9 licenses times 20 people. That's untenable. So we moved over to Litify, which is a Salesforce-based product. Really meant for bigger firms. We had a bad implementation company, which wasn't Litify, but it was a third party. It was a disaster. It cost us 6 figures. My staff revolted and said, hey, if we don't find something that's more customer friendly, we're quitting. We're burning this place down. They came at me with torches. So we used Affinity Consulting, and we did a really deep dive at looking at options. And what Carrot does really was it has everything built in. It has built-in accounting. It has a client portal. It's got document management and all sorts. It's got workflows now. And they used to also own Hot Docs. They don't own Hot Docs anymore, but they still integrate. So I have everything I need, except it doesn't work with really much anything else yet. It's on the roadmap. They're almost there. Great. So it's funny in the sense that I'm Mr. Tech Guy AI, and I use a product that can't use AI, but we use AI in other ways. And look, I really like Carrot. Customer service is great. They do a great job for what we need. But again, they're not going to be the leader in AI, I don't think, because they're just not.
First of all, I can't tell you how helpful that is to hear specifics and how your journey that you went through. I also recently heard it, probably it was yesterday, somebody from Big Law says they won't sign anything more than a 1-year contract. If anybody wants to do anything longer, they said no thank you, because things are moving so quickly. And even when they sign a contract with the firm or a platform, and if attorney doesn't use it for 6 months, it's probably completely different, because assuming they're tech enabled and they're constantly updating the software. So it's finding the right solution. There's another company called Legal Tech Hubs, and Nikki Schaefer is one of the founders of it. And they're geared towards big law, really, but they're trying to get into mid law, where their number one focus is helping you just decide between the 1,000 competitors out there in tech and growing of all their AI assistants that are there. And it's overwhelming to some degree. And to your point, I was talking to somebody at Big Law who uses Harvey. You're familiar with Harvey?
I am.
So he said, yeah, there probably are better, easier solutions, but the cost to retrain and the moving cost, it's just not worth. They just don't have the bandwidth to retrain the whole team. And from his side, is most of the things are all pretty much the same. And so it's really more about, the energy and bandwidth that it really has to make a difference for them to want to switch at this point. Similar to you, right? You're using something that there's better solutions, but it works. People are no longer revolting. Yeah, I guess that's right. Or chasing you down to get it down. And it's interesting because when I have the interview that hasn't even gone live yet, what he said was, I was like, what's the ROI of signing up, spending $50,000 more with Cleo for the new product? And he said, it's not just ROI, it's attorney retention. It's making their jobs easier. Because he says anyone at a mid-size firm will tell you, small to mid-size, retention is the hardest thing, like keeping the right people and keeping them energized and giving them the right tools to do that. And so it seems like these are the things that obviously don't teach you in law school, and even don't really talk about so much when you practice law. They talk more about the substance of law versus hiring a consulting company to have you find the tool, or hiring the wrong consulting company and costing you 6 figures. Like, that is crazy.
No, for sure. No, it's lawyers. It's so interesting to me. I found over the years that, again, a lot of lawyers just really aren't tech savvy, and they use what they use. but they also disproportionately fall prey to the shiny object syndrome and are willing just to throw money at crazy new things because they're told that it's the new thing. And then it may be the new thing, but then they don't
Yeah.
train anybody on it. They don't know how to use it. Nobody uses it. And they go, oh, this is an awful product. And I'll look at it and I go, yeah, but you're not using it right. Like you're using 10% of the product. If you used it correctly, this would change your life.
Well, that's how I feel about ChatGPT, Claude,
Yeah.
Gemini, all services we pay for. And I know it bothers me at night because I know I'm using like 5% of its capability. And to some degree we all are. How are you using, which one do you use? ChatGPT or do you use?
Yeah, I use Chat. Yeah, it's Chat.
Have you tried like Notebook LLM from Google?
Yeah. So I use, as a general LLM, I use Chat GPT, but I also use Notebook LM for certain tasks. I use just so many. I use Perplexity as my internet. Matter of fact, I use the Comet, their browser. I don't use
How
Google
is it?
anymore. I love it.
So I've always, okay, help me out here.
Sure.
I have this fear of using any of the browsers because I felt like, because ChatGPT, I think they all have now, but to use any of the browsers, because I felt like that was giving them too much information on what I'm doing. And I just have this fear of, they also want me to connect my Google Docs and all my accounts so it can search that. So tell us through why are you using Comet over Chrome right now?
Yeah, so I'm using Comet over Chrome, and Comet is what we call a Chromium browser. So it works just like Chrome, looks just like Chrome. You import all it works exactly like Chrome. Matter of fact, if I do an internet search and I hit Shift Enter, it searches Google. If I hit Enter, it uses Perplexity. So number one is, no matter what AI you use, and this doesn't really apply to the browser to the sense, I guess, because it's free, but when you're using any kind of actual AI, you should be using a paid account for privacy.
For sure.
So at least that doesn't train your data. Don't put your client data into free anything, obviously. But David, talking about privacy, you don't think Chrome's taking all your data too? So at the end of the day, I'm not using DuckDuckGo private browsing, which is a popular.
Okay, what does it do for you that Chrome doesn't?
Yeah, so it makes it just easier. So for instance, if I'm doing an internet search, first of all, I've used Perplexity to do internet searches since it came out. So I don't use Chrome anymore to do any. The only internet search I did with Chrome is like movie times, because that's what's local and it's there. But otherwise, Perplexity just gives a better result with citations, and it also allows me to turn it into a blog article with a paid account. So I do a lot of times to share information when I'm doing research. Matter of fact, it's just as a quick example. We have an in-ground pool at my house. When they built the pool, they only put one light in. So one side of my pool has been dark forever, and it's driving my wife insane. So I said, all right, let's try to figure out some post, because we're not digging up the pool to put a light in. So and she found one online doing a regular internet search. Then I went to Perplexity and did deep research and gave it all the parameters, and it's giving me this 50-page white page on reviews and everything else. And now I'm like, hey, now look at this. So as a browser, though, what it lets me do is I can just open up the assistant on the right-hand side on any page, and it instantly just brings in AI. So I can say, hey, tell me about this product, or go do research on this thing, so I don't have to go outside of my browser to type it in.
And so why that over ChatGPT's browser?
Just because I just like Perplexity's experience. Perplexity was built to search the internet, where ChatGPT does everything. Much like Microsoft. Like, I want to love Microsoft. I've been a Microsoft person since Windows 3.1 back in the day. I'm a computer guy. But much like that, Microsoft does everything and nothing particularly well, unfortunately. I don't like Copilot. I found Copilot not to be a great experience, even though it's a 365 environment. ChatGPT is the same thing. Like, it's a great Swiss Army knife, but when I need a specialty tool, I like to go to which is why I use Notebook LM. When I want create my own RAG and work with documents and come up with mind maps and create podcasts, Notebook LM, especially now, they just did their own deep research last week.
No, I don't know, but I saw it on there. I know, again, this is all exciting and overwhelming at the same time.
It's a lot. I'm not sure your audience is tuned out by now and going, oh my God, these guys talk about AI. But look, here's what I've firmly believe, and clearly you're in this camp, but what I try to tell my lawyers when I'm talking to them is this. So Richard Susskind has been around a long time, and he's back in the day in the 90s, late 90s, he came out because the ABA actually said that you couldn't use email, that it was unethical because it wasn't secure. And that's ridiculous. And so much so that like Oxford disinvited him from talking because it was nuts. So he's written a whole book on AI, which is great. And so part of what he's talking about is you can't ignore it. It's not even like email or even the internet. That AI is so transformative that if you try to ignore it, you're going to be out of business
Yeah.
because it's so powerful. And so one of the questions you asked me earlier to talk about is how we're adopting it. And we're doing a strategic implementation. So have you heard of Allie K. Miller?
No.
Okay, you need to follow Allie, Allie K. Miller. She grew up in the tech world. I think she worked for IBM and some other places doing the actual stuff. And now she's a leader in the entrepreneurial AI space. So I attended a 2-day virtual seminar that she put on AI first. And she does really good information on LinkedIn that she sends out. But it was all about how to strategically implement AI. And so we've adopted some of these principles at my firm where we're looking from soup to nuts. So of course, we're doing some ad hoc, hey, go research this, fine. But we're now looking at, hey, for instance, family law, we're typically hourly. If we're going to be using AI, we're going to be spending money to make less money because we're going to spend money to adopt AI, which is going to increase efficiency, which is
Correct.
great. But now we're making less money because we work by the hour.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I hate hourly. I think it's a horrible, and I think AI finally might kill the billable hour. Finally, after all these years, people say it's going anywhere, it didn't. So what we're doing we've looked at this twice before in 14 years of having my firm, of trying to move to a tiered flat fee structure for family law. So Lee Rosen did that a long time ago in North Carolina. He's a big tech guy in legal space. He sold his law firm and now he does coaching. The hard part is figuring out the metrics, right? You have to categorize the types of cases and then you have to figure out the data. What is this stage? How much should it cost? But if you do it right, you can charge your clients less and you can make more because the efficiencies. And in Virginia, thank God, in Virginia, we have an LEO that's pending with the Virginia Supreme Court, which I think they're going to adopt. I'm sure they're going to adopt, which says you can bill for AI efficiencies, whereas the ABA in North Carolina has been a little skeptical on whether you can do that.
The consensus, that was super helpful. The consensus from many conversations, 3 different conferences that I was at in the past 2 weeks, is because it was like, what does the space look like by 2040 is one of the questions. And everyone, and this was 30 people, the top legal tech companies that you can imagine that are doing things in this space. The consensus was by 2040, there will no longer be something called unauthorized practice of law. It will not look like the way it looks today because the market will not listen, whether it's and Damien from VLEX talks about this a lot, is either it'll be the public companies like a Google, a Microsoft, they'll just start offering services and products that like, great, sue us, but that are essentially doing, like you said, that's essentially what Cleo's product is. The next level is you don't need an attorney for a lot of it because it does the work. And the market is it's impossible to stop where that's going and it will switch. Do you agree or disagree with that prediction?
You got to flow where the money is, because law has always been a profession, right? We're counselors at law. And I believe that. I think it is a profession. I think you can help people. But one of the reasons it's always been that way is because of the arcane knowledge and the specialized education in the small group. And that's been blown out of the water. So now we're having non-lawyer ownership, which is coming, right? I think it's going to be nationwide sooner than most people want. And so now that you're dumping all this private equity money into law firms, and you're already trying to do some expansion because you have very real concerns about access to justice. And so you have some programs that allow paralegal programs and paraprofessionals that can come in and do leases and some other things. I think you take those two and now you add AI into the mix. I honestly think that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah. Thank you. And I know we're running low on time.
Sure.
I could talk to you for, this kind of goes to the next two more things to talk about. One is
Sure.
coaching. I'm not even practicing law and I want to hire you as a coach. Well, it's
Thanks.
funny because I have this, I'm not going to do it probably, but I'm like, I'm a lawyer. I run a legal tech, an online education business for law. I'm learning all these things. I don't know. I would love to experiment to see, could I run a practice using AI and support clients in a certain area
Yeah.
of law? Not that I'm almost to see what it's, almost for the experiment, almost to see what it would be like to start an AI centric law firm today and serve your clients in a way that you're doing that. And so my question is, what are you focusing on in coaching? Is it specifically on running the practice? Is it adopting to AI? Is it a little bit of both? Tell us about who you coach and why.
Sure. So I started a company last year. Been doing some one-on-one coaching. It's called the Motivated Lawyer. Motivate's an acronym. And I started the coaching company because having run a law firm and being part of these coaching groups, I learned a lot and I realized I really enjoyed sharing what I knew, and not only sharing what I knew, but helping people avoid the stupid mistakes I've made. And although I'm tech oriented, so a couple of my friends said, why aren't you just doing an AI tech thing? I said, because it's only one part of the solution. And what's more important than even that is having goals. And so mindset's the M in Motivated Lawyer. And so mindset is, let's have goals. Let's figure out let's make the firm for you. So the tagline I've come up with the firm is the firm you want, the life you deserve. And the whole idea is, let's create a firm that's for you. Do you want to build an empire like we do? Like, we like to be big, we want to grow. Or do you want a lifestyle firm? Do you want to be the best environmental lawyer? Whatever it is. And then I try to find every aspect within there. And I won't go through the whole acronym, but obviously it's technology, it's team, it's organization, it's action, it's visibility for marketing. And so we get into all these things. And, one of the things that I do, and I encourage anybody that's watching this, I do a newsletter every Tuesday I send out where I talk about these principles and AI. So I give a practical AI tip, AI news of the week, and then some motivate framework. So if you just go to themotivatedlawyer.com, you can sign up right now. It's just a newsletter sign up sheet. So go up there, and seems to have been helpful. I've had it out since April. And I'm launching my group coaching by the end of the year. So it's going to be a platform where people can talk to each other I'm going to use Circle Data so people can come together and we can talk and I can give input. Going to do a couple of Zooms a month, me talking one, having guests on the other, kind of like what you're doing, which is fantastic. And I just want to help other lawyers figure it out. And I'm not going anywhere. Still have my law firm, still do the law stuff, but it's really my passion. As I've gotten older, I laugh and say I'm 51, so I laugh and say charitably I'm on the back half, realistically back third probably. I want to do what I want to do, and if I can share stuff, I do. And so I just try to hit all the high points and meet people where they are.
I agree, and that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I love talking to people like you and learning and sharing. And what's amazing now, and I'm sure you've messed around with it a little bit, you can take this podcast, put it into Notebook LLM, and it will help organize all this content into 17 different ways to put out there. And so to me, it's always, okay, how can I know how many nuggets are in here? What ways can I put this out there to give value? And like what you just said, you're doing the circle SO, it's called circle.so.
Yeah, it's circle.so. Yeah,
that's what, a hosting platform?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's not Discord, but it's kind of like Discord. It's just it's like a Kajabi, or it's just a place where people can post and you can host videos and send emails out.
Can you, out of curiosity, do you have a flat fee that people pay for this? Can you share that, or is it custom?
No, so I'm going to be charging $497 a month. It's going to be month to month. And
that's access to the platform. So what?
That's access. Yeah. So what they get is they get access to that platform where not only they're going to have access to me, but the other community members are going to be able to chime in. And so right now there's a lot of free Facebook groups, right? Like the beach and some other good ones. But it's for the members to talk to each other as well as me to talk to them. I'm going to have two 1-hour Zooms a month. One, the first half, which is me talking about a motivate principle. Again, people can ask questions and that's going to be recorded. And then the second is I'm going to bring on law firm owners, vendors, and specialists to talk about something that is going to give value to my community.
Love it.
And so that's the ongoing. And then I do the one-on-one coaching, which is a 12-week thing, and that's much more intensive.
More similar to the EOS type coaching.
Yeah, just basically it's just a 12-week thing where we go through everything.
Love it. I love how you find that, and you taught for Lawline. How was that experience teaching and putting? I always believe teaching is the best form of learning.
Yeah.
How was the experience from teaching, from working with the platform? Did you get any feedback from people who've watched courses on Lawline?
Yeah, no, it's great. So I do a lot of speaking and teaching. Lawline's actually not to cater, but you guys are great. It's a good experience. The technology's great. I got great feedback. I've always had good feedback, but my AI one,
Yeah.
it was humbling actually, because one of your people reached out to me and said, "Hey, you've always had good feedback, but I just want to share this with you." And somebody was like, I've been practicing law for 50 years and this is the best seminar I've ever seen.
Wow. Wow.
Because I think it's because, look, I'm not a bad speaker, but I think it's AI. It's interesting. And I try to make it, and I work really hard on my AI presentations to
Yeah.
give them enough that it's not super basic, but not so much that I lose them. So try to make it practical.
I'm similar to like teaching and sharing. I want to figure out how more to do it. I'm so glad that we're lucky as a legal community to have you contribute to Lawline and then beyond for what you're doing with, I want to say the motivated lawyer, but that's not right.
It is.
Oh,
Motivated
cool.
lawyer. You got
I
it.
like
I
it.
appreciate that.
And I will look up afterwards the acronym. I'm not going to ask you to say it on the spot because I'm sure it's really difficult. That's a lot of letters to do.
I can do it. I just didn't want to waste time.
No,
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. Cool. Awesome. And I think the last thing I ask every guest, because we actually built a database through Lovable and a searchable area where we have 113 books that have all been recommended by guests. We already have Ryan Holiday's books on The Obstacles Away. Is there any other books that have been impactful for you in your career that you would say, okay, whether you're a lawyer or aspiring lawyer or somebody in legal tech, these are some books that will help you?
Sure. And I absorb, I'm sure like you, I absorb knowledge like crazy. I try to go to the gym 4 days a week. I do an hour weights, half an hour cardio. And for the hour, I listen to podcasts and books and I watch videos on the treadmill. So I get 6 hours of learning.
Amazing.
But my top 3 books are Obstacles Away, which we talked about, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
I don't know that.
Oh my gosh, David, you have to absolutely 100% you have to
Wow.
read it. It is, the guy's a tech guy, and the whole thing is the value of your time and delegation, which is very basic, but the way that he's written it really resonates. He's the one, that book convinced me I have a full-time Philippine-based executive assistant for my life. So he actually doesn't do much for my law firm, but he helps me with my other businesses. He pays my personal bills. He makes appointments for me. And it's all about the value of your time, right? So you try to elevate yourself to do the most important tasks. And the book is amazing. Top 5 books of all time I've ever consumed.
Wow.
And then,
I definitely add that to my list.
100%. I promise you. What I always say is when I recommend it, I'm like, if it's not life-changing for you, tell me and I'll give you your money. I'll buy it for you. It's that good. And then the third book that I really like, there's a million, but the third that it really flows to the top is Cal Newport's Deep Work. So Cal Newport is a computer scientist. He's written a number of books. He's got a great podcast, a very deep thinker. The whole concept of deep work is to be most efficient and get the best value of work, you have to have focused time. And we live in a world where that's hard to do. And so the idea is you find blocks of time to do it, time blocking. And so if you were to see my calendar, I have time blocked on every single day except for Saturday, where it's 1.5 hours working on my coaching company. And that hour and a half it's as if I was in court. It's an appointment that I turn off the internet. I don't answer my phone. I just work on those tasks. And there's a lot more to it, but that's the gist.
Oh, totally.
It's the only way I can do what I do, because I work an insane number of hours, but I try to be as efficient. And I get 7.5 hours of sleep every night. So
you are a machine, and you're a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh, I am a huge Star Wars fan. Yeah, I'm a Star Wars super fan.
I appreciate the deep dive into your life. I feel like I know you so well. I would have your daughter, I think she's 28 now, you said?
Yeah, she'll be 28 in a couple weeks. Yeah.
I would maybe share this with her. She will, I think anybody who you know will get a lot of value when this comes out, because you've really taken people on your journey. And that's what this is about. And also we've learned a lot too. So I really appreciate you taking the time and looking forward to continuing this relationship as maybe another course together, but hopefully we can meet in person in the real world at some point as well.
That'd be fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks so much.